Welcome everybody to the joint club meeting, RSSC, Riverside Robotics Society, and the Tech Room. Today we are going to do show and tell pretty much for the whole meeting. I think we've covered the business aspects unless there's any other announcements, and we'll proceed right to do some show and tell. If you haven't already, please post in the chat or write a message in the chat what kind of a presentation you want to do if you have something. So far we have well, Joe announced first that that you had a couple of things if you haven't done those yet, and then Lesha has got the QB update, and then I have a video. I've been shooting videos for the contest, and I'm getting them ready to get edited and all that, but and I'm not done yet. But I have one like clip or a couple of clips I can show. So welcome everybody, and we can get started.
Jim, does your chat start at 9:52? It looks like we got a queue starting.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, what happened before?
Oh yeah, no, it's right. Looks like Bob's got first pick. Barbosa training junior astronaut Tiger teams.
Right. Okay. Yeah, he started. That's true. I didn't. Okay. I thought he might have already gone, but yeah, I don't have that on mine. So Bob is first. Okay, Bob.
Okay. Let's see, I'm going to share my screen. And am I on the air?
Yes.
Okay. If somebody's watching the clock, I will stop talking the second you give me the signal, and here we go. I have received a $1.7 million grant to work with 2 school districts and the Ontario International Airport. The project is divided into 2 parts. One is aviation, and the other one is space. So I'm involved in Mars, robotics, robots doing science experiments on Mars and all of that sort of stuff. So here we are. The program starts on September 11th. And the sad news is I'm going to miss 20 club meeting Saturdays because we start at 10 o'clock. Well, we start at 8 o'clock in the morning and end at 2 in the afternoon every Saturday for 20 weeks. So that's the bad news. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm an educator, a design engineer, an astrosociologist, and the project superintendent of this particular project. Our main goal is to create what is called the first school on Mars. It's kind of like a futuristic school in which we train NASA-style Tiger teams to do science and engineering experiments on the planet Mars. So my job is to simulate all of this. So we formed the Barbosa Space Center so the kids could be a part of a real space center. And then we are taking these kids on a career path. We're involved in aviation, space, and cybersecurity. So if there's anybody out there that knows anything about cybersecurity, I want to talk to you. So I train junior astronauts, junior engineers, junior scientists, and take them on a space mission. Walter and Ben from the club have been invited into some of my classrooms, and they've seen me in person and participated. So being a member of the club, I got to learn about all of the fabulous things that our club members have been involved in one way or another. And now I'm looking at the work that we've done and thinking of the planet Mars and colonizing Mars and What role would robots play on Mars? So to help me along this path, we needed to send a message to NASA to say, hey, we build robots. We're building creative robots for Mars. Please talk to us. Well, it worked. This is a special robot exhibit that I did at the Ontario International Airport. I have a 50,000 square foot hangar to do these kinds of things. At one point, I'd like to invite all of the clubs to come and join me for a special robot showcase, maybe with Mars in the background somehow, if we could fit it in, because that's my theme. So my current team is working on both submersible robots and land rovers for Mars. And we are divided into lion teams and tiger teams. So all of our students are standing up in the background, they're the tiger teams. And the students in the front are the lion teams because they're not students, they're the instructors. Okay. I'm using the Now humanoid robot programmed to help scientists or astronauts do science experiments on Mars. That's what I do. That's what I spend all of my time doing. I've done a lot of things I haven't shown the club. And if we can ever meet in person again, I will get you guys caught up. So when I go to work, this is what I have to put in the car. This is all the equipment to train junior astronauts, junior scientists, and junior engineers. And this is the kind of stuff we purchased with the grants. Some of our astronauts or junior astronauts are entering their first year in college and they're following these career paths. So this is me working in the Long Beach Unified School District with a Tiger team, and these students speak English and Japanese. This is an experiment that we're doing with the blessing of Zoom. And this is what I want to talk to the club about. I create the planet Mars on the right-hand side, and then we take a team of students and we form mission control on Zoom. We create a special robot that is run with the student's cell phone, and now our students are running their robots on the planet Mars from a distance all over the world. So my dream is to have the club members be my students and we tackle projects like this. So this is the diorama. And if you can imagine, I'm online doing a simulation with all of the club members. And this is the planet Mars. And we're moving around the planet because we're doing special science experiments on different geographic locations. Sorry, I'm speaking too fast because I'm looking at the time limit here. So when we do Zoom, you will notice that Alan Trim's name is underneath his picture. But look at the names that are underneath this picture. So what we've done is we've created mission control for the kids. Of course, we needed special permission to do that, and we have it. So think of me as the career counselor at the high school. And I'm trying to turn you onto all the career paths that are in the STEM field. So this acronym, STEAMED++, we're not about STEM, we're about STEAMED++, because the D stands for design, and NASA asked us to concentrate on design. And the pluses are, of course, computer languages, cybersecurity, and one of our groups is in a country called the Republic of Cabo Verde. And the Republic of Cabo Verde is a 10-island nation. And that nation has an uninhabited island and an island with an active volcano. And we're working with that country and those islands as if they're Mars. So for those of you that are out there, if you got any creative ideas as you hear me talking, that'll be great. when we go to Mars,
We have like a blood culture on here so you can see how it grows.
I couldn't give it enough. I was on medicine and asking. I was given my right arm.
so you saw the demonstration I just showed you. I'm trying to do that with one of Alan's robots that he made with his 3D printer. I would stick it in there and we would pretend that we're working on a robot repair on the planet Mars with all of the people in the club feeding the suggestions to my Tiger teams who are on the planet Mars. So I'm doing stuff like that. Another challenge we have is designing a robot to go in the icy waters of the moon Europa. So we want to go underneath the ice, 26 miles underneath the ice on the moon Europa, and see if we can find life. So we needed to create a special robot that could handle that. So I'm sorry, I got to go fast because of my timing. Then we had to create another robot that could go under the ocean and pull up soil, not soil samples, well, yeah, soil samples and water samples to see if we can find life on the moon Europa. So I go in there with my army of humanoid robots to assist in all of that. And then we put together the robot kits for all of the different kids in the class. And when we pack it all up together, it looks like that. So it looks like, Alan, my time is up. I hope I didn't go over, but I am looking for help from different people in different occupations. Anybody that has any experience in any of these areas that you see, I'm interested in talking to you to do a 10-minute interview for this particular project that we're doing at the airport, training junior astronauts. So there we are at the LA Art Museum, and there are my students. And this is the program. I got to repeat in here because I pulled some things in. At some point, we'd like to show you a special, this particular robot that was used to win a national contest for high school kids. And then there's the aviation side of our project. We're looking to communicate with people. This is something Walter Martinez and I did. We went out and did some public relation things out in the community to spread the word. And these are the little projects that we're building. For this, we have artifacts, Apollo era artifacts that we're going to include. And this is kind of a simulation of what the museum would look like once I'm done. The different things we're doing down there.
Thank God you see them in there. Good.
These are all of the projects. So these are the projects and this is what we're doing. And I'll just go fast because I'm totally out of time and you guys should have given me the hook by now, but this is what I do. And I am interested in talking to you guys about a simulation of Mars. This is my dream, to build the underground and surface level Martian habitat for this whole entire project. So when you walk into my location, you would walk into something like this. Okay, I better stop. I'm ridiculously out of time. And I want to thank the club members for putting up with me.
Oh, that's okay. You're good. We're just asking for 15-minute limits. You weren't really over that. I guess starting from this beginning of this.
I want to hear more.
Actually, can we let him talk for another 15 minutes, please? That was really awesome.
Yeah.
I just invited a whole bunch of people to this talk.
Yeah,
I mean, I invited a whole bunch anyhow, but you know.
Oh, live, yeah, live. You invited them just now?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been inviting them all week, but yeah.
If they show up, yeah.
I know.
Bob, I have a quick.
Yes. Is this
well,
Jim?
this is, oh, I'm sorry. I have to change my name. This is Joe.
Okay,
Uh,
Joe.
Quick question. What was in the fluke boxes that you showed in your presentation?
Oh,
I'm a big fan of
Okay,
fluke.
okay. I'll tell you what's in those boxes. Imagine all of the club members were my students. And I'm taking you to the airport on September 11th, and I'm giving you a number. I'm telling you, what is your first name? It's not generic. Who am I talking to
Oh,
here?
it's Joe. Joe, you're talking to
Okay,
Joe.
okay, Joe. What I would do is I'd come up to you and I tell you, Joe, you're going to get a yellow flute box while you're in this program. And I'm going to individualize your instruction. I want you to pick a major and a minor. Your major is electrical engineering and your minor is astrogeology. So in the yellow box, you will have materials for electrical engineering and astrogeology, and you will become an astronaut in training that will go with us to Mars. And when you get to Mars, you'll have missions to, you'll have science experiments to conduct on Mars, and all of your equipment will be in the yellow box. And so I have 15 yellow boxes, and I will service 30 kids. So you will have a partner, and your partner will be, he may be a mechanical engineer with a astrobiology minor, and together you will be in the astronaut training program and you will work together as a partner. He will be your partner. Does that answer your question of what's in the yellow box?
Yes, yes, it does. Also, I simply must have a yellow fluke box. How much are they? How much did you pay for those?
Well, I am a real crazy guy, and I wanted to simulate Mars and space as much as possible. And I knew that if you had that yellow box, you could go aboard the International Space Station. So I wanted you to make sure, you, the kid that I'm trying to motivate, I'm trying to make sure that you have the same yellow box that an astronaut would use aboard the International Space Station. So the box costs $200.
Just to let you know, I am a big kid, and I am at age 62. So, but I think $200 is a bit much for me to expend on one of those right now. But they look really good.
Yeah, when you put a whole bunch of them together, boy, you're ready to go to the International Space Station. So all the boxes look like that. So any other questions out there?
Scotty, beam me up.
Yeah, I wish I could do this program for all adults. That would be a kick in the pants to have a summer camp and have all of you guys go to summer camp with me at the airport. That would be a kick in the pants with all the knowledge that you guys possess, especially when I put you all together in one room at one
Make it
time.
happen, Bob.
Yeah,
Make it happen.
absolutely.
Someday.
The microphone on when I sprayed that keyboard.
Well, you know how those NBA players, they get to go to Hawaii and pretend that they're going to be on an NBA team, and it's kind of like a summer camp for adults. We need to do that with robotics. Have a summer camp for adults where we can bring our skills to one location. I should do that.
Or actually have a summer camp for robots, and the robots can bring a human.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So,
I know I
any
always,
questions?
I know I always throw extra stuff on you, Bob, but have you considered a time delay for the communications?
Well, you know, to do a project like this and have a guy like you on the team, you know, you've got all that background in working for the United States Navy and all the things that you've done. And then you bring up an idea like the time delay. The time delay is 20 minutes. So you could imagine if we're doing an emergency repair where I call upon the club to fix a robot on the planet Mars, that means it will take 20 minutes for the communication to come in both directions.
Well, you know
So-
what, I worked on moon bounce communications a long time ago in amateur radio. It doesn't take 20 minutes to give you the effect of what time delay can cause to you. But if you could put like 15 or 20 seconds in, that would be enough to give people the idea that it's not instantaneous and would make them think a little deeper about what they're doing.
Well, you know, I would like to talk to you about doing a simulation of what you're talking about right now. I think it would be really valuable to the kids. And if you would not mind letting me interview you on that topic, that was one of the things I wanted to do. I wanted to come along, be able to interview different club members and see if we could have some kind of maybe a Zoom presence, even though you can't go all the way down to the airport. Maybe you could do it from your own home at any time of the day or night, and then we could rebroadcast it to the kids. Just you and I having the conversation on the time delay between Earth and Mars would be terrific.
That'd be great, Bob. I'd be very happy to do that with you. The other
Yeah,
thing I was going to ask.
Go
was,
ahead.
Isolation. I had the great privilege, I guess you'd say, of doing 11 and a half months at sea on a destroyer. And people don't realize what isolation does to you. I actually lost a man out of my crew. He wasn't able to deal with the internal pressure that isolation brings. And the way you typically combat that is you keep people busy. But there's also interviews and stuff. I mean, the Navy does a lot of that already because even short cruises are pretty tough on people. Like the typical destroyer cruise is 9 months and it's about 4 or 5 months at sea. But to go a long term without communications is difficult. They don't get quite as much of that today because now they have the internet, you know, and all the instant communications that come with that. But when I was over there, that was in 1984 and the internet and stuff wasn't on the ship yet. So it's a different circumstance. And that's why I'm a little more aware of it, I think, than most people. But I was wondering what you guys are doing in terms of that type of information.
Well, all I'm telling you is I'm getting a yellow box prepared for you right now because you know, that example of going out to sea and me training astronauts, you know, the relationship between what you've done in the past and what I'm doing right now is a very close relationship. So what I did is I put all of my contact information in the chat window.
Okay.
So I gave you a little bit more of an explanation of what I'm doing, and I gave you all of my contact information is sitting in that chat window. The best thing that all the club members could do is if you get a creative idea, I mean, you may not have it right now, but you may be driving down the freeway in the car and something hits you. I'd like you to be able to shoot me an email and say, hey, Bob, I would like to be interviewed by you because I have something to say that might help you on the Mars mission. And anytime we can connect robotics on any level in Mars, that's terrific. But it doesn't have to be that, because I have to look for people like, who knows an astrobotanist? Who knows an astrosociologist? Who knows an astrophysicist? And if you do, I need to interview those people because our kids are interested in those careers and they don't have a lot of people they can talk to. So.
I imagine you know
Okay.
most people out of JPL, but there's probably some good people out there that can help you with that.
So some of the things that the club did not get to see because I cut that slide presentation in half and I just shut down watching the time, the clock. Some of the things that you didn't get to see that I should tell you about is we did a lot of work all during the pandemic on growing food on Mars. So we created a robotics hydroponics farm that is basically a robot that grows food. So you didn't get to see that. That's in the presentation. And that's the stuff that I work with NASA with. How quickly can I grow seeds, germinate seeds, and how can I get robots to help with the research and development, keeping track of the robotic gardens. So let's see, that was there. Oh, and here's what you didn't get to see. You didn't get to see all of my Apollo era artifacts that we have in a warehouse. And we're looking for people that have been on this planet several years, especially through the 60s, that may be able to identify these artifacts and tell us what they are. Because we have a warehouse in North Hollywood, and there is, let's see, I think it's 3,000 square foot warehouse filled with Apollo era artifacts. And
Wow.
a new guy has just come on board, and he has his own private collection of artifacts. So in the project of creating the first school on Mars, we wanted to use those artifacts. It's just like Jim. Jim sent me an email, and he said he was collecting old computers. Well, I happen to have an Osborne 1 computer. So that's an example of an old artifact that unless you're 60 years old, you're not going to know what that is.
What
And,
did you just say? What computer?
Oh, I found the guy that's 60 years old, speaking up. Okay. He just recently had a birthday.
Uh-huh.
I have an Osborne 1 because it was Christmas time, and my wife said, what should we get for Christmas? Should we get an Apple or should we get an Osborne 1? And I said, let's get the Osborne 1 because the Apple has no future.
Been there, done that.
Well, I've got
So-
something
I used to
I can donate if you want. I have it. I rebuilt it, but I just have the main box. But
Get the,
Bob, if
the
you-
link.
Bob, I'm not doing much of anything right now. If you need help doing something, get me involved.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, wait,
I
it's
mean,
time to move on.
I'm sitting here literally twiddling my thumbs.
Oh, there's
You
content.
Going crazy.
Bob, I
Yes.
just want to say that somebody mentioned, I forgot who it was, that they went to Cal Poly Pomona. I also went to Cal Poly Pomona in the late 70s, early 80s, and my goodness, companies were just backing up their trucks and dumping off their old computer systems for the write-off, right up to the point where
Really?
they stopped accepting computers. And I did work with the Osborne 1, and it was a fascinating little portable computer. Reminded me of the compact portable computers. So I just thought I'd mention that. It was a cool little computer. I forget much about it, but you know.
Well, when I was going to Cal Poly Pomona, all of the instructors some of the instructors are working for the various companies coming out with various microprocessor stuff. So I got it.
Oh yes.
got
Did you know in the electronics department? I forgot his name. I believe he worked for Motorola, and he would bring Motorola 68,000s
Oh,
to
yeah.
the school. And
6502, Kim 1. I mean, one
I
of
forgot his name.
had a 8008 development system hooked up to a teletype. On the campus,
yes.
we restarted a Xerox 930 computer, General Electric 210 up on the top floor of the building.
The top floor, they had a Burroughs 5700. I think we're getting off topic. I'm sorry. I just
sorry
get
about
very
that.
nostalgic.
Sorry.
Well, it's me. I get so nostalgic for.
Let me ask a question now. Who's hosting the meeting? You
I
are?
think this
I
one
am.
is sort of free for all.
Well, the reason I ask, I when I set up my Zoom account, I said that I'm paying monthly for unlimited time.
Mhm.
In other words, since I have a Zoom group of my own, I have unlimited time. I can make the meeting go 7 hours if I wanted to.
So back to Bob.
All right.
Okay.
Sorry about that, Bob. I got off topic there.
Okay.
Talk to us about your Osborne one, please.
Okay, so what happened is Cal State Long Beach received the internet. I don't remember the year, but I do remember this. I live close to Cal State Long Beach, and the internet arrived at Cal State Long Beach for the first time, if I got my history straight. And a professor from Cal State Long Beach said he needed to test the internet. So the Osborne one came with a modem, and that was like showing a laser beam to a caveman back in those days, because those were the days of the Apple II. Like it was Christmas, the biggest item in town was the Apple II and the Osborne one. So the Osborne one had a modem.
What
And
speed was the modem?
it was at the lowest conceivable speed that humans could use. I think it was 128K modem.
300 maybe 300 baud.
Well,
Yeah. I think it was 300 baud, 120K ran the whole system. And so what happened is we plugged in the modem, and the professor over at Cal State Long Beach sent me a message to be received on the Osborne one. And I think it was the first time the university used the internet and sent a message. Well, my wife had to stay at my house with the Osborne one, and I had to get on a bicycle to go to Cal State Long Beach to tell the professor we received the message. Because at that point, everything was so new, we could receive a message, but we didn't know how to send a message. And the Osborne one was the first computer I ever used in my life. So everything was new. Word processing was a mind blower. Saving something was a big scientific breakthrough, even if it was one sentence.
Wow.
And I remember we had a floppy disk, and one day the floppy disk fell out of the Osborne one, and it fell down on the garage floor. And I remember my son picking up the floppy disk, saying to me, "What is this?" And it was because the Osborne one had two drives, one on the right, one on the left, and you would stick in a floppy disk, and the operating system was CPM.
Yep.
So
I
Sounds
remember
typical.
that.
So anybody that remembers that is in the Osborne One Club, because boy, that goes way back. The Commodore 64 was running around at that time. So Commodore was competing with Apple, and Apple was competing with Osborne One, and IBM's computer almost cost $4,000 or some ridiculous amount at that time. And that was the state of the art.
Mine was $2,300, but I got a bare bones system with a 64K motherboard and 16K of memory installed, believe it or not.
Yeah, at that time, that was a lot.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brian?
I was I was muted for a minute there, but just in the interest of having everyone get a chance,
Yeah.
should we move to the next person who is signed up to speak or talk about something, show and tell, which I believe was Joe. Is that right, Alan? After.
Sure. Yeah.
And then we could always come back to Bob, give him at the end, but just it'd be nice to make sure everybody gets a chance who wanted to talk. We had a couple more people, I think, just not that many, but.
Looking at the list, I have Bob and then Alan and then Joe and Les.
Oh, it was Alan. Alan was on there.
I'll only need about 5 minutes.
So Alan, are you next then?
Sure. Yeah, I can be. It's nothing that I'm working on, just something cool that I stumbled across.
Yeah, well, we go by the order, just to be fair, the order.
Okay.
that people posted. I didn't have the full chat. So yeah, we try not to do a free for all because that's, I don't know, other organizations can do that. We don't really like it.
All right, so I think I'm going to share the audio on it, but then let me know if you can't hear anything, and I'll just talk over it. So Epic Unreal Engine recently purchased another company that was making inroads in creating configurable, customizable human characters for games. So they bought the company and they released a product as Metahuman that they've been teasing for a couple of months.
I could be one of many.
Can you guys hear the audio on that?
Yeah, I can hear it.
Mhm.
Okay. This is short.
主人公にだってなれる。
Je pourrais être architecte.
So this tool is available. It's an online cloud tool, free for use. Oh, it just got disconnected. Let me go ahead and reconnect. We'll get that set up. And where previous model techniques involve manually creating a mesh and then attaching it to rigs and coming up with formulas to blend the point movements between rigs as the joint moves and stuff. This one uses, I believe it's deep learning and statistical stuff. And they're expanding a library of like basic archetypes of faces. But what's nice about it is that what's cool about it is that they're giving you all these options to, and sorry, this will come up. I got logged out due to inactivity. To create this figure, this avatar for games or whatever. And then you can export this fully rigged character into Unreal Engine to do with whatever you want. So as you know, Dr. Bruce has mentioned a couple of times, and it's true, and I agree with it, is that we're kind of systems integrators where, you know, we'll take technologies from different areas and stick them together in interesting and unique ways. And I think I'm going to go virtual for a little bit. I think I'm going to play with this and see how it can be tied into the Siri type technologies, the NVIDIA Jarvis type technologies to come up with pairing a face to a voice for a Siri type assistant. So they've got a bunch of different starting points, and they're all so cool and unique in their own way. This particular tool is cloud-based, so you sign up for a free developer account, and then they provide you access to this tool online in 1 hour increments. I found out last night that they kick you off after 1 hour. But then once you start at a base point, you can take that character. Here, we'll do, let's do Cooper. And when you take it into the studio, you can make a whole bunch of customizability to make this into something that you need. So it's primarily for game development, but I'm sure a lot of us have known that Epic is also using their engine for cinematic stuff. This is the same type of tooling that they use for the backgrounds in The Mandalorian and some other productions. So you've got in this dude, in this case, the basic type is named Cooper. It is almost photorealistic. I would suggest it's just far enough north of the uncanny valley to not creep you out if it's animated realistically. And from here,
Still looks sort of scary though.
you think so?
No, I think it looks pretty realistic. Well, you don't have to zoom in that close, but
Extreme close up.
I mean, even at close up, it's reasonable. But
Yeah, and it's let me go and switch this over to ray traced.
What I love about these programs is how they get every hair in place. You have to program that stuff in. That's amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's procedural hair.
but
It's
procedural, yeah, it grows it literally.
yeah. So this so whatever you do in studio, it's fully rigged and then can be exported into Unreal Engine, and it can be whatever code that you write or generate will work with whatever you end up throwing at it. So to just give you a quick idea of what it looks like for here, there's a couple of different tools that you can use to modify the shape of them. So if you just want to grab the handles over here, for example, you can make changes.
Yeah, it's the same thing you can do in any 3D modeling program once you get the
Yep.
model.
Yep, and it's designed to be smart. It'll only let you do make changes to it that it's seen in its reference images. So you can't do anything too outstanding or weird. But
Well, that's great. That's great because it's really a built-in artist mentor or such that's helping you keep it real, right?
yeah, so you've got your dude. You can
You age him.
change the skin.
That's incredible.
Give him different head of hair, etc. Body types. Really, really super customizable. So you've got the handles to move for gross movements. You can also for point movements. If you want to take different types of people, like let's say I wanted to come up with a mixture of take this guy as a base and then use features from up to 3 or 6 different people to modify his appearance in that way. You can grab each of these control points and then move it between one of the 3 or 6 others to modify that part of the body in that way. It's super cool.
That is
This
incredible.
has a lot more functionality than Unity, I think. Unity is really fantastic with this, but it's I have no patience for it. But it's really great what you could do on Unity. But this is really amazing on Epic.
Say, I wanted to mention that in computer animation, CGI for the movie and television industry, for years and years, they could not simulate hair properly. And then suddenly there was a breakthrough and they do amazing things with hair and fur now in animations.
Yeah, oh, definitely. I worked for several visual effects companies and back in the 2000s, and
Do tell.
even back then was when hair was becoming possible. Like Cats and Dogs, I worked on a movie, and Doctor Dolittle too, and those
Would you be uncomfortable naming some of those companies? I'm just so curious.
Well, I worked for Digital Domain in Venice, California, and Rhythm and Hues Studios, popular for their polar bear, Coca-Cola commercials, and many movies. And another company, Metrolight Studios, but yeah, Rhythm and Hues and Digital Domain was live action plus special effects, and Rhythm and Hues did all the talking animals, and well, and Digital Domain did Titanic, the movie Titanic, and we had the first digital humans in there, or one of the early ones that were. They weren't, they were kind of rudimentary, and they were at a distance, like on the deck of the Titanic, but they actually did animated humans, and it was with motion capture rigs. And actually, if you could get a motion, I don't know if people regular everyday people can afford a motion capture rig system, it's probably not impossible, because people have VR setups in their house with the trackers on the ceiling. If you got some ping pong balls, you could, and some tracking software and cameras, you could track yourself, do some motion capture, and then bring that motion capture into this system. So your head movements would be the head movements of this digital character. That was the big thing, motion capture at Digital Domain for years.
I got a chance to work with motion capture where they were doing live animation. Literally, you could walk up to the screen and talk with the devil, and the devil would talk back. And it was controlled by two actors. One actor did the voice and the hand controllers for the mouth movement, and the other actor was in a studio with a ping pong ball suit, like you were saying. It was very interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, you see those demos like that at trade shows occasionally, or CES.
That's gotten to the point now you can do it with your cell phone almost.
Yeah, that's what I was just wondering. I mean, I've been out of that business for years, but I bet. I mean, it doesn't seem like it would be that expensive these days to set up a motion capture, like a personal motion capture.
These controls rival stuff in some of the 3D animation programs I have here at home.
Yeah, this is so much more advanced than then it's cutting so far now with tools like this. Years ago, it was an incredible amount of work just to create a not so realistic human movement.
I just want to say that this guy, he looks a little unrealistic. His teeth are a little too perfect, and he has no fillings. Maybe they could put fillings in his mouth and make his teeth a little crooked. Is that possible?
Yeah, for sure. Here, let me go back over here. So I'm just learning this portion of the tool. They have a whole bunch of different variations in.
I want to see a gold tooth right up front there.
So, Alan, I have a brief question about this. Is it possible to capture the dynamics of the algorithm of the facial movements that could be potentially used as commands in a humanoid robot? Something similar to what Thomas's Simone is doing, or something of that nature. If you had the proper actuators within the facial muscle or facial features and stuff like that. So is the algorithmic movements and stuff capturable to use as commands?
Well, there's when you're talking about animating real versus virtual, it's a similar set of challenges, right? So how many degrees of motion do you have? And then how do you animate them in a way that tricks your lizard brain into believing that it's actually alive, right? That's the name of the game. What's kind of fun about the virtual approach, other than the fact you can get into it for free, is in this character, after you create them and export them, you have hundreds of controls, one for every joint, in the body, and darn near 100 controls for the head that then you can use programmatically to produce movement. And then it just becomes a programming problem, right? So in the demo in the beginning, you're seeing a combination of mocap and scripting choreography to produce a very lifelike effect using the tools that you have. I don't have it in Unreal yet, so I can't demonstrate this part to you.
As if they were.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so one of the challenges would be to choreograph speech along with facial movements, and that's a whole nother challenging topic in itself. Creating similar to a chatbot type of thing, and then being able to coordinate the actual auditory output of the robot, the speech output, and coordinate that with all the facial movements. Not a trivial exercise, of course, but you would need to be able to have access to both the speech characteristics as well as the dynamical mechanical movements of the face in order to be able to do that type of thing.
Yeah, and so that's to kind of wrap up my couple minutes in the talk is what I'm curious about is I'm going to continue playing with the character creator. I'm going to learn how the resulting rigging is exposed in Unreal Engine. I think it's based on .NET Mono. And then to pair it up with something like NVIDIA Jarvis, something else that's, more on the cutting edge side, conversational AI. If you've got the right hardware, it does voice synthesis, voice recognition, neural network conversational models, and just to pair it up with one of these to see what comes out of it. I'm not sure if it'll be anything useful, but it sure sounds like fun.
Yeah, the multimodal stuff is really gaining traction.
Well, I mean, to answer Buzz's question, even with this thing, you could probably write some things to actually allow it to control stuff.
I was gonna say
I can show something. I'm trying to get to a certain point. I haven't got there yet on it, but I can show you something that already does look like that on a small scale. And then Disney's been doing that for quite a while. They're taking their they're no longer using their programming console things. They're actually having animators from Pixar animate the scene, and that scene is linked to the physical character, and anything they animate or tweak in the scene will make the character move in real time. An example of that is the new Beauty and the Beast ride for Shanghai Disneyland, I think. I can show you some videos that you guys are interested.
Oh yeah, and that's kind of one of the points. There are these expert level tools that were previously out of reach to anyone except for professionals, and by signing up for an Epic developer account, I now have access to this tool that can be used as a basis for something that looks pretty cool to cobble together some type of a on the edge virtual assistant without even having to build anything. That's what's getting me excited about it. I think I'm gonna.
So what is that for a little bit? What did it cost you to join this thing, Alan?
Nothing. It's free.
Really?
Free, huh?
So if I wanted to do the same thing, I could.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
he talked to you about that. What I was trying to say earlier, I have someone wrote for Blender a algorithm to take the Blender animation and run servos with it. I can show
Actually, back in the day, I worked with Maya back around 2003 doing an API. And Maya, if nobody's familiar with it, was a very expensive animation program, very realistic, where you would build an animation around a skeleton. I'll wait till they answer the phone. There they. So Maya was very expensive, and then it came down to like $1,000, and I think now it's pretty cheap. But we had an API that would take the animation and literally output numbers, so that would run hydraulics and pneumatics, that kind of thing for animatronics. It was pretty fun.
Oh, that's exactly what I was gonna say. That normally you can export you can export the data from the channel, the animation channels. Maybe the tool that Alan was just using has an ability to do that, or will, because then you could if you probably want to model you'd probably want to adjust that model so that it has the same servo or same equivalent of servos that you have in your physical model, so that you're animating something that's a virtual thing that matches the physical thing. But then you could export the numbers, at least the control points. These are generally curves, so there's interpolation between control points over time. I mean, Tim's the expert in this area, but I remember this from back in the my animation whatever business. And so once those numbers are exported along a linear timeline, then that can be applied to your robot, to your robot servos, and even calculate the interpolation on board, and so that'd be less data, or it could be just literally all the data completely interpolated already. So it's just every 10 times a second, or whatever it takes, or whatever the rate you can handle would be. It would have the exact position for every 10th of a second. Anyway, does that make sense?
Yeah.
It does to me.
I mean to the sorry if I'm talking that lingo, but Tim knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
I like it. I like techno talk.
Nothing wrong with that.
I know we're kind of off of a schedule, or off of kind of the schedule here. Oh, actually, well, Tim, I think Alan was. Is that a complete?
Oh yeah, that's all I've had to share. Hopefully, I'll have something strung together in the next couple of weeks. But
yeah, so
that's like fun.
That looks really incredible. I think you showed a video of that a few months ago, or an early one before you had access to the actual program. So that's really coming along, and it's incredible that it's free. And Alan posted the link in the chat. So and it's with Unreal Engine, which is a very popular engine. I just downloaded the source code for that at my work. So if we want to go by our the original people who signed up, was it Joe? Joe was next.
Oh, sure.
You wanted to talk a couple of items, you said.
3 now.
All right, so let's.
Okay.
All right. We got maybe 1 or 2 other people, I think. So let's try to keep it to 15 minutes each. Thanks.
I'll try to make it quick. I didn't get an applause. No, it's all right. So, oh, thank you. Thank you. So I want to talk about microphones, and I really appreciate when I joined, I was testing my mic, making sure it wasn't too loud, too soft, didn't have too much bass, wasn't too crispy with all the treble. And people were saying things like, oh, it sounds like you're an announcer or a podcaster or something. And of course, I really don't do podcasts, but I'm actually starting to look in that. If I did, I don't think I'd do it live. But anyway, I digress. So, and now I'm getting a phone call. Oh, geez. Hold on. There we go. I won't take that. So I want to talk about microphones and robots. And first of all, I want to explain that I am talking to you today on a Neumann KMS 104 microphone. It is a $700 microphone. And that's why it sounds good. Now, of course, you probably don't need such an expensive mic. I use mine because I'm a singer, and I have a number of microphones. And also, it is plugged in to a Monoprice. If you guys are familiar with monoprice.com, and I don't want to make this a commercial, but this is a mixing console. It is an 8-channel mixing console with a USB interface, plugs right into the computer. It costs right now, it costs $44. So, if you're looking for a little mixing console that you can use with your computer, it has built-in what's called phantom power. Phantom power is used to power more expensive microphones that require that.
I could be one of many.
And has a lot of neat little features. You can get this at Monoprice. And again, I don't want it to be a commercial, but I can do things with it. For instance, I can turn off all the treble. So I probably sound pretty muffled right now, right? I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear it.
Okay, it's pretty muffled. Let me turn up the treble again, or I can. Oh, that was the bass. I'm sorry.
That was the opposite. You sounded tinny.
That was the opposite, and now I sound very muffled. But now I can adjust my treble back up. I'm still getting used to this little board, but yeah, with it all the way down now, I probably sound very crispy. But no, I'll turn the bass back up. So it's a neat little device. So let me get to the point here. One of the troubles I've noticed with a lot of people with their robots when they have voice recognition and they talk to the robots don't understand, and people get very frustrated. But I hear a lot of people that are trying to talk to the robots with, excuse the term, crappy microphones, little crappy microphones that are pointed away from their face. They're talking quite a distance from the microphone sometimes, or they're talking too close and it distorts. Also, if the microphone is on the robot, you need a kind of a better quality mic. It doesn't have to be terribly expensive, but don't use the cheapest one. And you want to have that microphone kind of pointed towards you. Also, if you're in a room with a lot of hard surfaces, you get a lot of reverberations off those surfaces. And you can hear people who are talking online that you get these reverberations, and it makes it very difficult for the voice recognition software to understand. So I thought I would just give you those little pointers on that, because I find it amazing that I hear people trying to communicate with the robot doesn't understand them, and they're in a terribly echoey room, that kind of thing. Also, on the robot itself, the microphone, you have to adjust the gain properly. If it's too low, the robot can't hear you. If it's too high, it's going to distort in the electronics in there. So that was that. Does anybody have any questions? I'm just curious. I always like to check. Okay. So
yeah,
the next.
There's a question, Phil.
Oh, yes. Go ahead. Just, you have to unmute. There you go.
What about microphone arrays?
Oh, that I don't know about. That's a good point. I have no idea. I'd love to learn more about that. That would be great if a robot had maybe 3, 4, 5 mics pointed maybe in different directions. I'd even like to see a robot that had a microphone that would turn and point to you. When people, you speak to a person, they may turn their head towards you to better hear you. Same thing can be done with a robot. As a matter of fact, maybe you could put ears on a robot, same kind of thing, one on the left side, one on the right side, so that it would turn towards you. And a robot could use the phase differential between the sound from each microphone to figure out the direction of somebody's voice, that kind of thing. And I could brainstorm on this all day long, as I do. I tend to prattle on about things. But I just wanted to mention that to you guys because I'd like to see your robots understand you better. And I know I was listening to people in the Ross group, the Ross 2 group that is on Sunday. And they were having a number of issues with their robots understanding them. So there you go. And again, you can hear that I sound pretty crisp and clear on this mic. Again, it's a pretty expensive mic. But you certainly don't need anything near that expensive for a robot. Any other questions? And I'll move on to my next subject real quick. Nope. Okay. So my next subject is monoprice.com. Again, I don't want to make this a commercial, but if you guys are familiar with Monoprice, they're cheap. They are cheap. They have some amazing prices. I get a lot of, in fact, I'm just ordering some audio cables today from there, and I am getting a little bit better setup. You probably notice I don't have my face on the screen because I don't have a camera on this computer, but I am getting a camera set up, so hopefully you'll be able to see that soon, and feel privileged to see my face because I expose my, my features to very, don't want to make it sound that way. I don't let many people see who I am. So, but this group's cool, So I just want to mention that monoprice.com, they have 3D printers, these little 3D printers, various types for very cheap. And if you were to look there on monoprice.com at some of these 3D printers, again, I have no stock in the company. Okay. I'm seeing them for like $135, $145 for these little micro printers and mini printers and stuff. And I just thought I would mention that to you. They've got some great prices. And again, For $44 while it's on sale. It's normally like $70 or $80. They have these little 8-channel mixers. It is the only mixer they have, so it's easy to find. And again, it's an audio device interface to your computer. It has the USB port. You know, they're cheap. They're cheap. You can tell when you get it, they're cheap, but they work pretty good. So, but I wanted to mention about the printers because I was just amazed. So if you get a chance, take a look. And then the last thing, cybersecurity. Okay. I am not an expert on cybersecurity. As a matter of fact, I think it was Kevin said that he was is it Kevin? Yes, Kevin Shin, if I'm pronouncing that right, posted something in the chat, and he's got his LinkedIn profile there, and he is a cybersecurity specialist. So you may want to ask him more questions. But a couple of things. One is a VPN. A VPN is a virtual private network. It's a no-brainer. Go get one. Okay. Not all VPNs are the same. Let me explain real briefly what a VPN is. A VPN will encrypt your data from your computer to a server farm someplace else in the world, and it anonymizes who you are. So in other words, between you and that server, for instance, your ISP, that's the company you're connecting your computer with, they can't steal, or I shouldn't say steal. They cannot leech your information from you. They can't see the websites you're going to, things like that, because they just love to collect and sell your data. Also, if you go to Starbucks, you can get what's called a man-in-the-middle attack. Okay, and I have experienced this personally, and it's not fun. You'll go in and you'll log in, and you'll just see all these 3 or 4 or 5 different excuse me, I'm a loss for words here. When you log in, you'll see like 4 or 5 different routers that you can log into. Well, one of them can be somebody's computer sitting there, and he's going to intercept your signal, and then he'll hook up his computer to the router at Starbucks, and everything you do, including all your credit card information, he'll collect that. So that's called a man-in-the-middle attack. Everybody, in my opinion, should get a VPN. Now, again, not a commercial. I recommend ExpressVPN. They do not collect data on you, as a lot of VPN companies do. It seems to kind of defeat the purpose when a VPN company does that. Don't get a free VPN, because they're most likely collecting data on you. That's how they make their money. I recommend ExpressVPN. If you go to ExpressVPN and you click the box that says security now, you get an extra 3 months. It's about $100 for 15 months, and it's well worth it. So that's, but there's other companies. There's other companies to go to. And so I just highly recommend that you get that so you don't get into trouble. And one more thing, speaking of security now, if you're into cybersecurity, go to TwitTV. I think it's twit.tv, TWIT.tv. And if you're familiar with Leo Laporte and Steve Gibson is amazing. They talk about cybersecurity every week on Tuesday. And I gain a lot of neat information about it. And every time you hear about Microsoft servers being taken over by foreign countries and things like that, they'll have a report on there. So it's just a great resource. TwitTV, twit.tv, and it's called Security Now. Any questions? Yeah? No? I'm done. That's all I wanted to say.
Oh, thank you, Joe. Yeah, I would probably second the VPN recommendation. I've been meaning to get one myself. Although I don't have one yet, or except for my office. I mean, yeah, for your work, generally, everybody every company requires you to log in through a VPN to your secure company computers. But
Of course.
most people, individuals, go on vacation and use the Wi-Fi at the hotel or the coffee shop, and you usually don't make lots of. I don't usually make lots of purchases while I'm at the coffee shop or the or the vacation home. But well, occasionally you might at your hotel you probably could buy tickets or something. But yeah, it's a good idea to do that.
Right. A VPN, basically, if you have a VPN installed on your computer and it's working properly, you can go anywhere. You can use anybody's Wi-Fi, and
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about using your credit cards. There's other things to worry about when you use your credit cards, but when you have a VPN, you're not going to get anybody taking your information.
Yeah, or even more than credit card, you're only responsible for, well, $50, and even then, but it's the inconvenience plus other critical data that you might reveal, like your address and social security numbers or anything that you might enter online. But all right, well, why don't we should move right along here. I believe Les was next, who has an update on QB.
Yep, I had my microphone turned off.
Yeah, and yeah, Les, your audio level's a little low. I don't know if you can boost it at all.
Where I'm at here.
Compared with everybody else, anyway.
Maybe move your microphone a little closer to your face.
Yes, Joe will know.
Microphone's located on my camera, so it's kind of hard to move. Way up. Can you hear me now? Any
Yeah.
difference?
I don't know if that's different, but
I can hear you okay, and I saw somebody sneaking around behind you, Les.
Okay, that's probably my wife. She's getting some messages out for me. Okay, what I have is I built this. Eventually going to be a small humanoid robot, and the first pass of it, I forgot to put any allowance for it to be able to sit. So I've had to add this particular location right here into the body of it to allow that. And then in order to be able to get it to do the ability like a split or to move the legs for balance, I've had to incorporate the ability to tilt the leg joint back and forth. So that caused me to have to increase the size of all of this a little bit also, because to allow for this difference. And when I did that, I decided to make it a little deeper as well. And so that gives me a little more room around the Raspberry Pi. And then because I forget who suggested, somebody suggested I use BECs for the 6-volt amplifier. So I found these little BECs online and I put those in, and I have one for each series of servos, one for the left side and one for the right side. So that'll give it a little more regulated power. So that should help with the problem that I had earlier where the robot would kind of set and vibrate because the battery voltage was weaving. So I'm hoping the BECs will clear that up a little bit. And then on the back side, I've changed this design as well and made the power box a little larger. And so I'm going to include the fuse and some of the circuitry in here, which will control the power that goes down to the robot, and the switch goes in this hole at the top. And in addition, I modified this unit so that now the hinges for the arms are pivoted on both sides by the servos on the bottom and by a pin that goes up into this shoulder brace on the top. So these are now more sturdy than they were before. And then for this, at this point in time, these servos are only held in place with double-sided tape. But when the cover goes on here, the cover has legs that go down inside between the servos that will provide the ultimate support for them. And then there are screw holes in here, and there will be long screws go in there to hold that servo position strongly so that it won't deviate with just this double-sided tape and the hinge pin. Then I've also allowed some more space here, which is going to hold an ADC and an amplifier for the audio portion and some other circuitry that I found out I needed to make the robot a little more robust as well. So that's all going to be incorporated, and that's the latest update I have. I took the other one apart, so I can't show it for comparison. I've also already tossed part of it, but and I have made it a little more robust. The 18650s, I'm still using my homemade milk battery boxes, which have a very strong spring that pulls a bolt up against one side of them and forces them in here. And the reason for the ribbon is so when the 18650 batteries are in there, you have a way to get them out easily. Most of you already know the 18650s aren't exactly easy to get a hold of when they're inside of a battery box or something. So that will allow me to kind of pull on them to get them lifted up out of there enough to push on them and get them removed from the two contact points. So that's the update for now. It's moving forward. I'm very slow. I have to apologize a bit. I kind of slowed down some. There was a family issue that bothered me greatly and kind of knocked me off my stride. But anyway, I hope the rest of you are having a better time than I've had and that work is progressing anyway. Thanks, guys.
Hey, Les, I haven't really heard the term BEC. Is that what you said? The battery eliminator circuit?
Yeah, it's used inside radio control devices, like airplanes and model cars and stuff like that. The batteries are usually tied directly to the motors in those models, and they needed some regulated power to enable the control circuitry to operate. So they designed these BEC circuits. Some of the receivers have a BEC built into them, but they're usually very low power. And as the robots grew in size and the radio control planes grew in size, they've created these external circuits to help you do that. And they're cheaper than using just a generic, what would you call it, converter. Usually you use a switching converter in order to change your voltage. Well, these have switching converters in them, but they're very well controlled and they're isolated and back protected and all that kind of stuff.
What is the make and model of those BECs? I'd love to look it up.
I don't know off the top of my head, and I can't really read them when they're in here. I'll put that up on the email later.
It's kind of a voltage regulator of sorts then, right? I mean,
yes, that's what it really is. It's a buck boost regulator.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, it's learn a little bit every day about electronics.
Well, the buck boost regulators are neat because they use FETs internally. So the FETs have very low wattage drop. They're either all the way on or all the way off. When they're all the way on, the forward voltage drop is only around 0.1 volt or a little less. And so even at high currents, there's not a lot of power dissipation in them. And when they're all the way off, there's no current, so there's no power dissipation then. And the switching times are very fast. So in essence, there's almost zero power dissipation in them.
I work with some boost buck converters. Sometimes I say book bust. I don't know why. But some of them that I work with are as efficient as 96%. So yeah,
Yes.
they're very efficient. They don't get very warm. A good battery eliminator, some of them actually will detect if there's batteries in the system, and they'll switch over automatically to the battery as soon as they lose power, and you won't miss a hitch. You won't get a glitch and have your equipment fail, turn off or something.
Yeah, they're very slick little devices. The beauty of them is because they are so efficient, you can actually increase your battery life by dropping the voltage a little bit through a buck boost type converter. That allows you to drop the output voltage, but because the converter is not on all the time, it's switching on and off. So really what's happening, like in this case, it's only using 80% or 70% of the current it would normally use. So it's very, very efficient. And that will increase the battery life.
Want to mention, if you're running any audio equipment with your robotics, such as a microphone or a speaker, a lot of times when you hook them to what's called a switch mode power supply, such as a buck boost converter, by the way, buck drops the voltage, boost increases the voltage. You have those. But what you can do is you run something called a low dropout regulator, or an LDO, and those will dissipate some heat, but you're only dropping the voltage a little bit from those. And what those do, they're a linear regulator, and they'll keep a lot of those noises from getting through to your audio equipment, because switch mode power supplies and those type of converters there are switchers tend to inject noise into audio circuits.
Yeah, well, what I've done here is I use a separate one for the audio portions and the computer controller portions. And this one has very large capacitors on the input and output. So it combats that. Plus also its switching mode is in the 100K region. So it's a lot easier to isolate that noise from your audio circuit.
Well, that's very smart.
Cool stuff. All right. Well, if there's any more questions, or no more questions if any more questions for Les, we will.
What type of servos are you using? What brand? I'm just curious.
Yeah, well, I'm really cheap. So these are called DS3218s, and they're from let's see, it tells the name on here. Yeah. DS Servo, and they were like I think 4 of them were like $50, but they're 20 kilogram servos, so they're quite strong. It takes a lot. This robot weighs, when it's fully assembled, close to 9 pounds, so it has to be able to lift that weight.
The only servos I've ever worked with are Fubata, so I want to get familiar with other ones that are out there.
Yeah. Those are much better servos than these. These aren't quite as linear as those, and they do have some noise associated with them. But this is my prototype, and it's just so I can get a feel for everything. And also, I'm pretty budget constrained because I'm retired, so I kind of limited the money I could spend on servos. I'm hoping it'll work out all right. I've got it to stand up so far, but I haven't done all the servo drive and the other stuff. I created a model for the gazebo, but the model doesn't work right correctly. It looks like some of the parts aren't connected in the model, even though I set up the joints and stuff. I was going to do a lecture on how to set up those joints, but I'm not yet getting success with them the way I want them to operate. And once I get that all figured out, and I'll do a presentation for the club that may help other people.
When you have the bugs worked out and you actually have it washing the dishes, I really would like to see that.
I don't think this one will ever do that. What I'm hoping for is to be able to create something relatively small and inexpensive that might be able to help disabled people with just even small objects, like being able to pick up a piece of paper off the floor, or maybe hand them a soda or something like that. My intent is not to go big because I don't have the budget, and I'm doing it by myself, and it's going to take me a long time to get it done the way I want it to be.
Well, at age 62, I really could use one of those around here to pick things up.
I'm 75, so it takes me a long time to get around and doing stuff. It took me 3 days to paint the roof in a bathroom.
All right, well, we've got a few more people that want to talk in last minutes here, so let's we're going to try to wrap up the official part by 12.
Okay, guys, I'm going to have to say goodbye anyway because I promised my grandson I'd take milk coffee today. But you guys have a good meeting, and thank you very much. And Bob, I'll be in touch.
Thanks
okay.
Yeah, thanks
for
a
the
lot.
demonstration.
All right, bye-bye, guys.
See you later. All right, so I'm going. So I have a short video to show, and then Jim Upersetse is going to has a 5-minute presentation on neurons for robots. And
I
Tim,
can do mine at another time if it's time. You got time constraint problem.
yeah, well, if we're, we might have time. If his is only 5 minutes, then yours, if yours is, 10 minutes or less, then it will fit it in.
Well, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I can always do it another time. I just
Or you can do it in the after hours, or after 12, which
okay. Well, I can do that
unofficial
too.
meeting.
I could, just trying to answer Buzz's question he asked earlier.
Yeah, if if people have to go at 12, then you might want to wait until the next meeting.
Okay, I can do that. Well, we'll see how it flows.
Yeah. All right, so let me just show you. In the contest I'm in, it's due in a few couple weeks, I think, before the next meeting. So I'm going to be submitting everything, or our group is going to be submitting the results and a report and hopefully a slickly edited video. Who we've got Carl's daughter is who's a film major, is going to help us do that. Is going to do the editing. So here's just one of the shots I'm putting together for the final video, which has a full script and everything. And this one, I'm asked the big orange robot to find the remote for the TV. Here we go. Quiet. Rolling. Action. Orange, find the remote. I see a remote. I found the remote. Thank you, Orange. So that is one clip, and I'm actually recording the audio separately for the robot. So if you couldn't hear that, yeah, I have an audio file. Quiet. Rolling. Well, I'll just play the little bit.
I see a remote. I found a remote.
Thank you, Orange. So that that is how I'm piecing together, more of an official video, which is gonna, be edited nicely and not have all these different things on the screen like my university style videos that I've shown in the past, which have too many elements. And this one's going to go from, one thing to the next. And so, and I put a microphone on the robot, and I am currently a cheap microphone user, as Joe pointed out, is a kind of a problem, but the microphone that I'm using on the robot to listen to people and to speak is actually a Bluetooth device from Samsung, which it's designed for at least light usage of music playing and voice and commands. So it works reasonably well. But the microphone I'm putting on the robot so that I can record his voice as he's moving is this little thing, which is just, it's an old dictation USB thing, but it does the job. It's something very small, and I can record exactly what's happening, then get that file, and that'll be one of the assets to make the video. And that, I clap to synchronize the audios of the different video, sources. Anyway, so that's it for me. Any questions, comments, criticisms?
I liked it. That was neat.
Thank you.
Yeah, looking good, man.
Yeah, so that's just a quick update. I've got a bunch of other videos that I won't show today, but that are kind of in progress.
Very impressive, Jim.
Thank you. All right, so let's move on to Mr. Jim Upersetsig. And please unmute yourself, Jim.
Can everyone hear me clearly?
Yep.
Okay. I have a very brief presentation. It's very much on the subject of autonomous robotics. I'm presenting this mainly just to obtain any opinions that people have. They're not my ideas. Now, is this sufficiently visible that people can read it?
Yeah, I can read it.
Okay, it's a book, Neurons for Robots, by Harold Reed. It's a book I've had for a while. He has many ideas. Apparently, the author of the book experimented for many years with artificial neuron networks in which the simulated neuron inputs are weighted by weighting factors, and then there's a threshold. And many of us have been doing a lot of work with that. There are software tools available that are wonderful and fantastic. But this particular author was of the opinion that it can only go so far with that. So he invented his own artificial neurons, which operate on a completely different principle. Is anyone here familiar with this author's thoughts?
Not yet.
Not yet.
No.
Okay, then that's the end of my presentation.
The thing is, let me say one thing.
For opinions, I don't know whether I should do anything with this.
Well, let me say one thing along the neuron cell there. When I was in high school, I did a science fair project on an artificial neuron cell that was developed by Bell Laboratories. Actually had to be able to recognize different size discs. So make a finger do this when it saw the right size disc.
I see.
By seeing. Won second place in the science fair.
All right. Well, then, if there are no other comments, then that's all I have today.
What's the name of the author again? I will look that up.
Harold, middle initial L, last name Reed.
Oh, Reed.
Yeah, for a while he was selling kits of components that would plug together, each of which would simulate one neuron. They were physical electronic things that plug together with cables.
I'll post it. Or link into Amazon anyway for the paperback. Oh, they want a lot for the paperback. Jim. Maybe you can get it at the library or something.
Have you looked through that book at all, Jim?
Oh, I've read through it extensively. Eventually, I wrote for that author a compiler so that he doesn't need to build these little tiny printed circuit board modules.
What do the neurons look like? A little transistor circuit board?
Microcontroller chips that are pre-programmed.
Oh, okay.
Do you know
never mind then.
Here's one of his earlier books. It has an interesting title and subtitle: Brains for Machines, with a subtitle: Machines for Brains.
Okay.
Do you
That's
know
his
what
first book. He
know what
developed
type
the
of,
ideas further in later books, and eventually was fishing around for somebody to write a compiler. So I wrote him a compiler, and when I had everything working, I sent all the source code to him and haven't heard anything from him since. So I don't know if he's done anything with it or not.
My goodness, you wrote a compiler. That's pretty
Very
adventurous there.
simple-minded compiler that
Ah.
operated on this printed circuit board called an isopod, which was a nice little circuit board. It had places to plug in 12 servos and a variety of different kinds of sensors.
Do you know the microprocessors that he was using?
He was using PIC brand micro.
1874s, I bet.
He had about a dozen different varieties of pre-programmed modules.
How long ago?
Each of which simulated a different kind of neuron.
The book came out in 2009.
Okay, answers that question. I don't think I have enough time to do what I want to do, Jim. Let's do it another time.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, we're
finished. So
yeah, we're 3 minutes from end. So I think we'll wrap it up officially now.
If you want me to host a meeting sometime, I can do it. I have unlimited time.
Yeah, I mean,
oh, well, yeah, no, that, yeah. So, Tim, that's very generous of you. I actually also have an unlimited account. I just don't have unlimited time to host. So what I'm going to do at this time is I'm going to stop the recording.